Yeah, it's Gareth Bale. And I don't know who the one below is. Yeah, Gareth Bale. Don't know who she is.
Yeah, it's Gareth Bale. And don't know her.
No. I recognise the top guy,
him,
but I can't remember what he's called.
I know the top guy. Is it Harry?
You know who he is.
Is it Harry Kane? No.
Gareth
Bale, yeah, I did know that.
Gareth Bale, the footballer, and I'm not sure of the woman footballer.
Yeah, that's Gareth Bale.
Yeah.
I don't know her name.
Gareth Bale, and I don't know the other one.
No, I don't.
He seems familiar, but no.
Yeah, I've probably seen him before.
I know they're NBA players,
Yeah.
but I don't know their names.
And she's actually one of the WNBA players.
Right.
Women.
Yeah, I didn't know they had a women's NBA.
Yeah.
I've seen the first guy, I don't know what his name is, to be honest.
I don't know who any of those are.
Yeah, I know the first guy.
What's he saying? It's alright.
I don't know the full name, but his
Yeah.
name is Harden.
James Harden.
Yeah.
Yeah. And no, I don't know that one.
No, I don't know the names.
I don't know him, but she's Naomi Osaka.
Yeah.
You've seen him before. Is he like a Russian tennis player? I haven't seen her.
They're both tennis players.
Yes.
I do know the bottom one, but I don't know her name.
Okay.
I've seen her play on the television.
Probably because I dance. Someone that's like inspiring or that you want to look up to or you want to be like them. You know, they've achieved something. So I want to be like that.
Non-Stanford. A triathlete.
Jessica Ennis. Michael Johnson.
Michael Jordan. Definitely. I've still to this day, even though he's retired, I was really into kind of Nike and trainers as a kid, just for the fashion to begin with. But then when you found about the people who were, I suppose, advocates for the trainers and why they got behind it, you know, obviously not just for the sport, but what they did for communities and the children, kind of, you know, they were kind of fans of Nike and basketball. Michael Jordan was probably he's probably to this day one of the greatest kind of, I'd say, brand ambassadors.
I do. I follow Larry Wheels on Instagram, trying to be a strong man, and he's just only focused on one thing.
I don't think I have an individual role model, but I think a lot of role models that I look up to. So I say one example is I do rowing. One example would be Mo Speehy, he's a British rower, and he comes from a challenging background, and he's black, which is very unusual among rowers because it's quite a white sport with quite an elitist background. So, and he's just proved himself by working hard, and that's why I look up to him.
Somebody you aspire to be, somebody who motivates you as well to be just as good as they are, and somebody maybe who can show you that it's possible to achieve something you work for.
I think it's someone who is really good at something. It can set a standard about a good quality in the industry or in some behaviors. So he or she can be the model.
An inspiration, someone who's successful in more than one way.
Probably someone people look up to in terms of what they achieve and what they do.
Well, a role model would be somebody that you would aspire to be like, to be able to maybe perform to their standard, or just that you would want to achieve
level in life.
as they do, yeah.
Just something that pushes you, like makes you want to better yourself, like get closer to them maybe in a way, like approach their feats of strength, which is normally quite extraordinary.
Sort of like aspire to their achievements almost. I do think so, because from all the people you showed me,
I was more likely to at least have heard of the male person, but not of the women as much. So I guess there are not that many that I know of.
Definitely, like for example, football. And that, I mean, there is obviously like a female league, but I mean, it's just not many people care about it, or not enough people care about it. Because technically, it's the same what the males do, but still, nobody really cares about it. I mean, technically, it should be the same, really. So I guess there's space for improvement.
Yeah, because if you think that women are 50% of the population and sport on TV is not 50% of female, there's definitely, if you're a woman in sport, there's a lack of. But it's getting better.
I don't think so. There are quite a lot of female role models, but they're maybe not represented in the media as much as male.
Probably not. I think it's a lack of audience that women's sports have, because it seems to me that men's sport is wider. I've got a much wider reach than women's sport.
Depends what sport, doesn't it? I mean, tennis, there's a lot of female role models. But yeah, I do. Overall, if you would, as a whole, I would say definitely. I think I've just been watching actually the Women's FA Cup, which obviously got a lot of news coverage, didn't it, on the BBC this weekend. Was it West Ham and Man City? And that was the first time I'd seen women's kind of football so prominent in the press, so I think it's getting better.
Yeah, probably.
What do you think about it?
I feel like especially with sports coverage, all you ever see is the male like sports teams or like world championships and all those kinds of things. And you don't usually see it for women.
I would say so, yeah. Especially saying like the football industry, like that mainly focuses like on males, whereas like the female football isn't really as focused on. So yeah, I would say so.
I don't think there is a lack of them. I think it's more they aren't as spoken about necessarily, because there are definitely women that have done some amazing things. It's just we don't hear about it as much necessarily.
I feel like there probably aren't that many, to be fair. I feel like with me coming from like a fitness, like rugby background and strong, it's a very male-dominated area. So in sports, because it has become a more male-dominated area, it is becoming more female involved, and there are becoming more and more female role models. But at the moment, because there is that stigma that sports is probably a more male-dominated area, there will always seem to be more male role models.
I think through fame, like if you're well known and you share your story of like how you trained so hard, or I don't know what you did to become famous, then obviously people will follow that, will want to follow that.
First of all, they really have to have really high score, like achievements in Olympics or other competitions all around the world. Secondly, they really have to build a really nice personality, and so on the media or social media or on the internet, to try to let the public recognize them as more than athletes.
I think just through being famous, I would say, and people think they're good at their sport, and then it makes good sense for marketeers to then turn them into a role model because they can make more money out of it. Sorry if that's a bit pessimistic.
I would say a good way would be to conduct yourself well away from your sport, because a lot of people you only hear about them because they've been involved with fighting and things like that. I mean, I'm not into
drugs misuse or
drugs or fighting. So to conduct yourself well away from your sports field, but also probably to go into schools a lot more, or to mix with young people to try and encourage them to go into sports, and maybe even to go into sports that are considered more masculine than feminine. You know, maybe talk to girls, that kind of thing. Football springs to mind. I mean, I know there are a lot more female footballers now, but still nowhere near. You don't hear about them like you do male footballers, do you? So. that would be a good thing.
I think an athlete becomes a role model with how they get involved with the community. I think it's important that they're not just kind of playing the sport, picking up the paycheck and going to training and coming back. I think it's a lot deeper than that these days. A lot of children look up to sports stars, and I think they've got a duty of care to make sure that they're kind of getting involved with the community more of a grassroots level. So David Beckham was great at kind of visiting schools and universities and really getting involved with kind of obviously junior kind of football players, kind of 5 and upwards. So I think they can become a role model and a good role model if they kind of get involved with the community more. Yeah.